Welcome to Teletherapy 101 for speech language pathologists. I am your host, Carrie Clark with Speech and Language Kids, and today we are going to be talking about how to do teletherapy for speech language therapy. So this is going to be a nice basic overview. It's been a little while since we did one of these, so I wanted to give you some fun ideas and activities to keep your teletherapy sessions fun and engaging and moving them forward. So if I am new to you, welcome. I am Carrie Clark, the creator of Speech and Language Kids. And this podcast has been going for a while, off and on, but we're back this month talking about all things neurodivergent children, and that includes speech therapy. So today, let's talk about how we're going to do our speech language therapy if we are on teletherapy. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out what you're there to do. And this may be very obvious, or it may be something that warrants a closer look. But we want to figure out what is our role in this child's educational ecosystem, right? They are probably in a classroom during part of their day, or maybe they're homeschooled, they're home with parents. They may have other caregivers that take care of them. They may have other professionals or therapists working with them. So we want to figure out which piece of this ecosystem we are a part of and how we are providing our services. And so this could be talking to the teachers, talking to the parents, figuring out how we can help. What is it that they came to us for and how we can support that? And then we want to figure out, based on that, what kinds of scheduling we need to do. And so this may be decided for you depending on whether or not you're working for a company who has hired you to do teletherapy in a very specific way. But let's think through what that looks like. If you are doing teletherapy in the schools, then it's important to know how long you're going to have them. If there's going to be an adult on the other side, sometimes they just plop them in front of the screen and walk away. Sometimes you might have a para or a classroom aide there that can help. So knowing that piece of it can be really helpful. And then if you are working with parents or you're working in the home where you have access to video teletherapy while the child is home, then it's important to know what your access to parents or caregivers or babysitters or what that might look like, because that can help you do the different pieces of the therapy if you have somebody on that other side. We also want to consider whether shorter sessions are more helpful or longer sessions. A lot of times, shorter sessions may be more effective on the teletherapy format because we don't necessarily have the ability to move around and keep it physically fun and engaging. So sitting at a screen for a long time can be a lot harder than sitting in a therapy room for a long time. So we may want to keep our sessions a little bit shorter, maybe do them more frequently, which, if families don't have to drive to us, is a lot more reasonable. So keep all of that in mind as you're figuring out your scheduling. You also want to make sure that you are including time for collaboration and consultation with this type of therapy. Since it is virtual, online, it is really, really helpful, really, really important that you have access to the people who are with that child all of the time. You sitting on a screen with them for 30 minutes a week is not going to really do that much help, right? Our job during these sessions is to figure out which strategies are going to be effective and then share those with the parents and the caregivers and the teachers and the educators, okay? So make sure that as you're figuring out your scheduling, you are also figuring out time for collaboration and consultation, whether that's over the screen where you're actually talking and doing training directly with a parent, caregiver, or teacher, or through emails, text messages, sharing videos, make sure you're doing your HIPAA compliance and stuff, but figuring out ways that you can make sure that they have access to you in order to ask questions and that you have access to them in order to share strategies, okay? So you're figuring out your role, you're figuring out your scheduling, and then you want to figure out which areas they need support in. So the areas we look at are speech, the speech sounds, language, fluency, social communication, functional communication, and voice and resonance. So you're going to go through an evaluation process, most likely, or maybe it's already been done, to identify which of these areas they qualify in. Then you want to dig down and start to figure out which sub areas they need help with in those larger areas. And so this is, what are the specific skills that they need? So for example, if we're looking at language, we want to look at things like asking and answering questions, following directions, sequencing and retelling. So we have our screening checklist that you can use inside the curriculum. So you can access those, hand those out to teachers and parents to get more information about what it looks like when that child is struggling. And then you want to come up with a goal that is the functional outcome that you want to see, right? So the goal is not to produce past tense verbs and sentences. That's not what we want. What we want is for them to be able to produce grammatically correct sentences in classroom activities or during conversation, right? So think about what the functional outcome is that you want to see, and that's where we're going to start, okay? So that's the whole getting started piece for teletherapy. So then we're going to plan our sessions. So what you want to do for your sessions is you have this functional outcome that you're looking for. Maybe you have a couple of these. You want to find what specific skills that child is missing that's making it harder for them to progress on that outcome. So if they are having trouble using grammatically correct sentences, then we're going to look and see what are some specific skills, specific grammatical skills that they're missing that we could teach that would help them make progress towards being able to use grammatically correct sentences, right? So you want to choose like 3 to 5 activities or specific skills that you're going to work on to support their development in that area, or to fill in those missing skills that they're struggling with. So for our SLK curriculum, we have already put together those goal packets, right? So if you look at one of the goals that is a functional outcome, right, like creating grammatically correct sentences, we have a packet of activities that are all specific skills that support that functional outcome and that help a child learn and develop that in that area of that goal. Okay. So you can either grab one of our therapy curriculums, that's the easiest, or you can start to piece together 3 to 5 activities or skills that you want to work through with that client during your time. Now, what I recommend for teletherapy is that you have some sort of a spreadsheet. You can use Google Sheets. It depends on if you're going to put any protected information like client name on it. You can't use something that's like, I don't think Google Sheets has the protection unless you've paid for that. But anyway, keep privacy in mind. But you will probably want to have something somewhere saved that has the links to those specific PDFs that you want to teach from, or the specific teaching materials if you're not using something like our curriculum, the links to those, whatever it is that you need. Okay. So I like to just put this in a spreadsheet where I can say, okay, this child has these 3 goals. Here are the 3 packets for those goals, and it links to the packet. And so that way, when I see that child in therapy, I can just pull up that spreadsheet, click on the link, and it opens up the materials that they're working on. Okay. So that's what we're going to do for the planning, is we're just going to find the materials we want and save them somewhere so that we can easily access them during therapy. All right, so now what do we do in therapy? So now we're going to go into our teletherapy platform. We log in, the student logs in, we're there, we say our hellos, and then we're going to pull up the teaching materials. So whatever it is you decided that's going to help you teach this skill to the student, whether it's one of our curriculums or some other resource, and you're just going to share your screen. So all teletherapy platforms will allow you to share your screen and show whatever it is that you're looking at to the student. And you're just going to have that up on the skill, and you're going to teach the skill. Just like we do in regular speech therapy, it's just through a screen, okay? So you're teaching the specific skill, but you're also trying to figure out which strategies help them the most. Because remember, we're thinking ahead to how are we going to help the teachers and parents who are working with this child every day carry this over, right? So if we are working on the R sound, we have a piece of paper or a PDF, with a bunch of R words on it. And we're going to go through and practice these. And while we're doing that, we're saying, okay, try your tongue like this. No. Okay, try your tongue like this. What about this one? Can you do it like this? Here, how about you take this, popsicle stick that you have and bite like this? And then, okay, so you're trying different strategies, right? We want to know which strategies are working so that we can share that with parents and teachers. So that's what we're doing during the teaching part. Then we just want to continue to practice with them on the teletherapy call. Our goal is usually trying to get 50 reps in a session, 50. We want to get a lot of reps so that they're practicing it over and over again the correct way so that we can help them establish that new skill. So it's kind of boring to just sit there and practice our reps 50 times in a row, right? Usually we need something a little more fun to keep it engaging. So we'll continue to practice while we play a game or do something fun on our screen. And I'll give you some examples of that here in a minute. And then at the end of our session, we want to explain to the parents or caregivers or teachers or paras or whoever we have access to how they can help the student carry that skill over or continue to practice it. All right. So how do we keep it fun? Let's do that part. That's the good part, right? So the teaching material should stay the same throughout and across your sessions. Okay. I think the trap we all fall into is feeling like we need a new activity, a new video, a new way to present the concept every session to keep it fun and fresh, right? But what that does is, number one, it takes a lot of your time and energy to find those things and then keep them organized and then locate them when you have a client that needs them. Plus, it's often confusing and overwhelming to the client because they're constantly being presented with different ways to understand that material. And yes, multiple examples are good, but completely teaching it a different way every session is not good. This is not helpful for our students who struggle to pick things up instantly. They need it to be taught one way and continue to practice and teach it that way until they master it, and then they can expand it to other contexts, right? So boom cards are a thing that are really, really popular. And I will admit, I've never used boom cards. I'm sure there are a lot of really cool ones. But again, if you are having to come up with new boom cards and new activities every single session for every single client, number one, you must be exhausted. And number two, we're not teaching it the same way every time because each boom card is created differently, right? And so, yes, you can come up with fun activities that will teach and practice the skill in different ways. But what I prefer is to have one way to teach it, one way to present it, and that is whatever that PDF or that teaching material is that you came up with in your planning part. You just use that one thing every session, and that allows you to have that consistency. And then you just use fun activities to keep them engaged while they're practicing it, okay? So the fun activities are not specific to the skill you're working on. You just have a bank of fun activities you use in your sessions, okay? All right, so here's some ideas for that. First and foremost, AI is amazing. You can create custom tailored practice materials, practice examples using AI that go right along with whatever way you're already teaching this skill, okay? So let's say we're working on helping a child who is struggling with narratives. And so we want them to work on sequencing. And so we're going to have them retell us the steps to a common task. And we're working on 4-step tasks. And we just want them to practice saying them out loud, right? First we do this, then we do this, next we do that, last we do this. So we can practice the ones that are on our page, the worksheet in front of us. And then we say, okay, we need some more to practice. We go over to AI and we just say, I need 4-step sequences for common tasks that a 5th grader would know. And it will generate us lists of these, okay? We have AI material generators inside our curriculum that you can use that are pre-programmed to do all of these things. You just fill in the blank, I need this skill and this is the interest of the child. So you can use those. You can also use ChatGPT or any of the other generative AI softwares and tools that are out there. You'll just need to write out, okay, I'm doing a speech therapy session. This is what we're looking for. This is what it needs to be. Okay, so that's the first one I would recommend is just generate some things with AI. AI can make pictures. So you can have it make a picture packed full of your target skill. And you can even say, hey, kiddo, what's your favorite thing in the whole world? What's your favorite video game? What's your favorite character? And you can have the AI generate a picture that's customized to their interests and packed with your skill. So that's a super easy way to do this. And you do this during the session. You do not need to pull these up ahead of time. You do not need to pre-program these in. You don't have to take any extra time outside of therapy. You just do this right in the moment. And then you have all those practice materials. Okay. So that's the first one. Super easy. Another thing I like to do for teletherapy is I like to have a Pinterest board that I have created that has some pre-selected online games, puzzles, video clips from YouTube, other things that are fun for my clients, whatever age I'm working with. I kind of customize it. I might have different boards, one for younger kids, one for older kids. I might have a board of video clips, a board of puzzles, anything that you can do on your screen. So it has to be browser-based and doesn't take a lot of time away from your practice time. Okay, so for a good example of this is if you go to the Highlights Magazine website, they have puzzles and games right on there. You do them right in your browser. So you don't have to download anything. Your student doesn't have to download anything. You'll just share your screen while you're visiting that website, and the student will be able to see that puzzle, that game. They have like the hidden picture ones where you have to find things that are hidden, right? So that's a really easy one. Another really fun one is to make a book on Google Slides. So you just open up a Google slide. You can go into Google image search, turn your safe search on, but just say, hey, we're going to make a book today. What do you want to make a book about? And they say, Ninjago. And you say, great. What should I search in Google Images so that we can get a good Ninjago picture? And then have them tell you. Here's the key, guys. I never let the students have control of the mouse. A lot of the teletherapy platforms make it so that they can click on things. I don't want to do that. You know why? Because I want them to talk to me. I want to force them to interact with me and use their skill so that I can help them carry over whatever it is we're working on through those conversations. Okay, so I'll say, we're going to make a book about it. Ninjago, what picture should I search for? Oh, you want me to search for the green Ninjago guy fighting a bat? Okay, I don't know. And so, which one should I pick? This one? Oh, no, not that one? Okay, and we get to have a conversation, right, and practice our skills. Oh, what should I write as the title of this book? Okay, what should the text on the first page be? Once upon a time, what happened, right? So it doesn't matter what the book's about. It doesn't matter what goes into the book. What's important is that they are using their skill to have a conversation with you. So that one's really great for carryover, but you can also do that as just like a fun in-between reps. If they're working on a skill that they're not at carryover yet, you can still have them practice their sound or their skill. And then, okay, now we're going to write the book, and then we go back and practice, then we do another page. But again, I've got control of the mouse. I'm clicking, I'm typing. They have to tell me what they want. Okay, so the idea is you still have your teaching material. You can have that open on one tab. You can have the fun practice or play activities on another tab, and you can be switching back and forth as you get to that part of the therapy, right? Okay, now it's time for a break. Now it's time to work. Now it's time for a break. And you're just flipping back and forth between two tabs. And since you're sharing your screen, they're seeing what you're seeing. So they're not getting in there, clicking around and finding things that they shouldn't be finding, right? So that's the whole idea about giving them something to do to keep it fun and engaging, but they're still working from the same teaching material. Okay, and then finally, let's look at that carryover and training piece, because since we are virtual, it is even more important to have parents and teachers on the front lines carrying over those skills, okay? If we are the only ones to work on these skills, it's not going to transfer. So if you have access to parents, then I would recommend building this into your session, having the client practice with you for part of the time, and then spend the last part of the session with the parents, showing them which strategies worked and how they can work on this at home. That is a really great solution to the kids can't focus on a teletherapy session as long as a regular session, and we'll get even better progress because the parents are carrying it over, right? Now, if you don't have access to parents or, like a para or a classroom aide that might be able to practice these things with the child another time during the week, then we can also do this via correspondence. So you could send weekly or monthly updates to parents and teachers. Just keep it really simple, right? We're not asking them to do their own speech therapy sessions. Just give them simple strategies that they can use to carry that over. And then keep in mind, if you have a child who is young, like a toddler, or a child who maybe does not engage well, or for whatever reason just is not about this teletherapy lifestyle, then it's okay to make your entire session parent or caregiver training or teacher training, because again, the whole point is that we want to teach strategies that they can use. So it may be that if we can't get them to do the strategies with us through the screen, we say, okay, parent who's sitting there, or caregiver, babysitter, para, whoever it is, you say, okay, one strategy that works great for some of my kids is if we do this. So you teach them how to do the strategy. While you guys are playing with those blocks, try doing it like that. And then you watch and then you give feedback and you go, oh, okay. I see that she like kind of perked up at that, or wow, she did not respond at all. Try it a few more times and let's see. Or let's tweak it. Now try it like this, right? So you are being the coach then and letting them practice the strategies. Okay. That's what I have for you today for our teletherapy overview. If you like this, let me know and we can go into more depth. Let me know what questions you have about teletherapy, what resources you need for teletherapy. And then speaking of resources, if you're interested in using our curriculums during your teletherapy sessions, all of it is in PDF format on our website, super easy to access during your sessions. So you can go to hub.speechandlanguagekids.com and you can access all of our curriculums. We have a lot. I don't even know anymore. It's so many. But you'll also be able to use our AI-powered material generators and access our discussion board and our courses and all of that as well. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day and see you next time.